New World Meditation,
Hmm.
and it's written by Lucinda Gray, and the subtitle is Focusing, Mindfulness, Healing, and Awakening. So she and her husband David Truslow put together, worked out their own kind of integration of a mindfulness practice and focusing. So just for those who are curious, and then there's David Rome, also, who is and
I read that book, yes.
yeah, he did a good job. They both, did, and but working with that kind of that crossing and integration. Yeah.
Could you say the name of the book one more time? I'm sorry, Steve.
So that's okay. So one is New World Meditation.
Right.
And I think, yeah. And then the other one that I mentioned is by David Rome, The Body Knows the Answer, or Your Body Knows the Answer. And it seems like David Rome came to focusing after years and years of mindfulness and Buddhist practice. And it looks like the Lucinda Gray came to, her starting point was focusing, and then started to develop a daily mindfulness practice without an agenda, but an agenda may pop up from.
I practiced that way for a long time. I did a Vipassana in 2015, and that was after a few years of focusing. So I would have my meditation practice, and then when something would pop up, I would just switch.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It worked well.
Beautiful. Could we just say some of those metaphors for the recording that Kate, you were saying in point 2 about the importance of having a partner to accompany and deepen and keep your attention. And we were saying how that integration of bringing the partnership from focusing into mindfulness is an idea whose time has come. And then we were saying, I was asking, what do we think? Because people think all different things of the difference between focusing and mindfulness. And Kate, you were saying that the mindfulness is like having a map and just seeing all the things on the map. And focusing is like picking something to work on. And Henry, you were asking the question about in mindfulness, do you put it aside, or you're just there with it? And then we were responding to that question. And Annette, you were saying that you love the image of a mindfulness as hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, hello, goodbye, and focusing as hello, what do you have to say to me? And Steve, you were saying that mindfulness is like sitting, I guess I said mindfulness is like on the bench with everything and just being in the big space, in the big world with all of your things. And Steve was saying that you could be sitting on the bench and watching the river and watching things floating down the river, but then one of those things might be yelling, help, help. And then you would want to get off your bench and talk to that thing, right? That some of the people, you say hello, goodbye, and they say, oh no, don't say goodbye yet. Talk to you for a bit. And that would be a wonderful distinction. I just wanted to add to your image, Steve, that you're sitting on the bench watching things go down the river, and then some is crying, help, help. And then with Jean's image, you wouldn't jump into the river and start flailing about with that thing like there's a scene that I love in Charlie Chaplin movie about modern times where the guy is drowning in the pool and he jumps in and then the guy is dunking him under and then he's trying to save the guy and the guy is trying to save him. And such a wonderful image of get too close, we get into something rather than having a relationship with it. It can be disastrous. So we maybe on the bank talking to this one that's yelling help, help, throwing them a rope or something. It would be interesting to develop that image.
Well, and the rope could be the focusing attitude could be like a rope.
Yes, yes, I love that. Yes, right.
Or I also get this image. I love Ann Weiser Cornell uses the term strong self in her psychotherapy book to summarize all these images of self and presence and core self and there's all these terms, mindfulness, that are used. And I just get this image of as a big me and the stream is just like a little stream and it's so easy to scoop up that thing and be with it. It's like it's no question that I can pick it up.
That's a beautiful.
Because throwing the rope as if we're the same size, it's like, oh, we might not be able to catch it. But there's the deeper your focusing attitude, the more you have that part of you, the more you know you can be with it somehow.
Oh, I love that. That idea of being at the bank, just scooping it up, your hand and attending to it. I'm wondering, Kate, if you want to go on to point 3. I didn't mean to keep us here too long, but this was so rich. I love getting it on the recording.
May I try to answer Henry's question? Whether you put the things aside or you just allow them to be there, right? I think either way works, but sometimes it's we are not able to put it aside. For example, if we are having a headache, I'm having a headache and notice that something is there, I can't put it aside. I just can't allow it to be there.
Yes. Right.
I would challenge that. I think sometimes we can and sometimes we can't. I would say it's worth trying. Like, don't assume you can't.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes you
Thanks.
can't.
Yeah.
This
But
conversation.
I like the. Sorry, Henry. Go ahead.
Okay. I find this conversation has let me maybe have less of a distinction between the two. Like almost, or maybe we're just being from a focusing point of view. I'm trying to ask myself, what does mindfulness bring? Like apart from focusing, since with focusing, we do have this self and presence kind of idea and focusing attitude idea. And for me, I use the word mindfulness for little moments in my day when I'm stuck in like repetitive thoughts, and it's helpful to disengage in them and not to believe them, kind of, and go on with whatever I'm doing. And just having that separation between, like I am not my thoughts, that I found really helpful in my daily life. But yeah, so I guess perhaps it's contextual. Like, do you have the time to go into something or not? And mindfulness could be a tool to sort of put things aside in order to focus on something else.
I blogged about this. I can share the blog. For me, mindfulness practice is really good. It's a concentration practice, really noticing what's there, what's there, what's there. Am I paying attention to what's right there? And that practice of doing that helps you in when you're not practicing to just go, oh, here I go again with my repetitive thoughts, and let me change them. Whereas in focusing, because we're concentrating on something that's just like so interesting, it's really easy to concentrate on it. Like we do concentrate, but it's easy. It's not hard work to concentrate when you're focusing. That's my sense of it.
Yeah.
I suppose mindfulness also practices that muscle of the larger self, where in my understanding of, I guess, ontology, we like, how do I say this? Like, there's no other, like, we're ultimately free to choose from that place, and that there is no thing to follow. And I think sometimes in my own practice of focusing, I'm looking for an answer, like I'm searching for wisdom inside, or a voice inside to help guide me. And I suppose both of those are true. It's like there are guides, and then there is the freedom.
You say that last part again, Henry. I almost got it, but not quite.
Yeah, I really welcome that, because I don't think it can be clear, because they're kind of a contradiction. On the one hand, that there seems to be in my focusing practice a guidance.
Yes.
At the same time, there's also the experience of a large self where there's no right or wrong, in a way. Like there's like absolute kind of forgiveness in terms of whatever I choose. And there's creativity in that freedom, but I don't know how, like they're mutually, like they sound like contradictions, but I'm not completely clear on it, so that's why it might be hard to understand. Maybe you guys can have some insight too.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like what you're putting into words is coming from your lived experience in your focusing practice, and your lived experience of some of the intentions that you have when you focus. And so then you've had, it sounds like you've had two kinds of experiences. One of them is that experience of, in a sense, being guided and by an inner wisdom, and sort of like something that may come almost either in a felt sense, or perhaps words, or something like that, like a sense of biblically the still small voice within kind of thing guiding you. So there's that kind of thing, that kind of experience you've had, and I can relate to that. And then this other kind of sense, as you are, sense of you as the sense, I don't know if this is right, but the sense of yourself as the one who's sensing, and then when you're and then you're getting, and when you have that, you're in this kind, you're connected to your larger self, and maybe that's connected to something even larger, and that it's that space where it feels like you can choose. And I just want to add my own little piece in there when you were saying it didn't have a sense of right or wrong, but everything is forgiven. This is me here going, well, it just kind of going, well, if everything is forgiven, that there may be right or wrong, there may be some wrong to be forgiven in some kind of way. It's we haven't been, voted off the love boat, but there's still there may have been something that needed forgiveness, some
That's
wrong.
I think that's exactly the integration. Yeah, that I think I want to believe is that there is always a right.
With a capital R or something as well as the small r.
Or a contextual right,
Right, yes.
which perhaps that is not a critical one, but a still small voice, like you say, that waits patiently for us to choose it over many lives.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like, maybe like contextual, Kate, just to translate. Do you have that word? It means it is about the surroundings, what it's not something in and of itself. So the right isn't just standing alone. It depends on that moment, on the relationship, on that. It's a flowing thing. Maybe you didn't need that translation, I'm not sure. But I didn't know whether that word would be familiar. For me, there's something about the guidance that is in the life forward energy, the forward movement that's inherent and natural and organic. That's just there in focusing. We're being guided, and then there isn't a distinction between me and the one that's guiding. I am in interaction with the guidance, right? And it's occurring, this guidance. And it's a following the guidance in focusing. Whereas in mindfulness, it's being with the great big system. I loved how you said, Steve, the bigger self that's connected to the bigger and the bigger, and that place where it's all okay. And there is a right, but the right is a direction more than a thing, and it's contextual. It's not static.
I'm glad we figured out what life is.
Yes.
Like it's
Well-
almost like a map.
Right.
Well,
I'm thinking of a conversation I had with Jean about, we were talking about mindfulness and talking about, he thinks about it as a step below, going deeper, rather than focusing goes to one level and then the elevator goes down another level to mindfulness, to that big place. And he was saying that he goes down there, but then when he gets what he needs, the fresh air there, or the expansiveness, then he wants to go up and deal with everything on the level. And he and I were sort of teasing each other about, well, how long could you stay down there? And that both of us have,
what's your bliss tolerance?
and we want to go and do something with it and follow it, and right.
Mhm. I do transcendental meditation, which is the first one that I learned, and then I started doing it again. Sometimes I move back to mindfulness, and so transcendental meditation they call it transcendental because the place that sometimes it goes to is this quiet spot, sort of below and and that's the, of that form of meditation, that's the gold, is that one. But I'm also kind of, I prefer to kind of use, if I go there to that spot, it's great and relaxing and all of that kind of thing, but I want to be able to sort of maybe, in a way, if I get to that big below quiet kind of place, can kind of take that, and it's almost like larger capital S self, and take that to work with, to work with those little ones that are to scoop up, that you were talking about, Annette.
Yeah,
No,
I was gonna
I
say
don't.
oh, go on.
Go, no, that's good.
I was gonna say what it sounds like is that transcendental, like, turns sympathetic nervous system all the way down.
Yes.
And then lets ventral vagal system turn up.
Yes, that's it.
And it strikes me that in focusing, if we're focusing on an issue or a problem, there's some sympathetic charge to it, there's some dorsal charge to it. There's some stuck energy, what Gene called, like, what did he call, structure bound or stopped processes. But those things have energy to them because they were traumatic. He doesn't use the word trauma very often, or if ever. But I think today we would say that it's a trauma. And something you said, Lynn, I was thinking with the going down and coming up, I almost wish focusing was called embodied thinking. Because so often people like, oh, I'm thinking too much. I'm like, you're still supposed to think in focusing. It's not like it's not thinking. It's just that you're thinking from your body felt sensations.
I do call it that, Annette. I call it embodied reflection. Yeah.
Embodied reflection?
Yeah. Embodied reflection or embodied contemplation, but I think embodied is such a good word. It's a very popular word now because it does the trick. It distinguishes something that needs to be distinguished.
Yeah, I've thought about it as thinking with your whole body, and that kind of, using that kind of phrasing.
Oh, I love that. You know what? I think we should do a workshop on whole body thinking, that would go whole bodied focusing. And it would be a kind of a TAE, but without all of the steps.
Henry, it sounds like you've been doing whole body focusing. Maybe that's your, that at some point in time, that may be, recycling that into whole body thinking.
Yeah.
A zigzag is about that, Yeah. It seems to me.
I've been becoming more forgiving to myself about thinking and talking. One phrase that my focusing partner says that I like is like, there's no such thing as being natural or authentic. And I think that was such a relief, because I'm always trying to do that. Trying to do it right. And like I just have a problem that I want to talk about sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't matter. And I like this conversation. It's helped me to not like think of mindfulness as necessarily more superficial than focusing, because you can think about it, oh yeah, we're just saying bye to everybody, but it can also be that place after we've talked to everybody and there's no one left to save.
Yes. I want. We're also talking, I think, about when we're talking about mindfulness, going to that open space. I think it's also very akin to what Dana and Baruch are talking about in the field of prayer. And I'd be curious if we all go to that on Monday to talk about that, maybe even next time if we want to talk about mindfulness, how mindfulness and focusing in the field of prayer go together, or what that relationship is.
That could be on the list.
I would hate to think of mindfulness superficial.
Yeah.
I was
Um,
just gonna say that we only have like 5 more minutes, and I wanted Kate to get to point 3 because we went on point 2.
I was just gonna ask that too, yeah.
Yeah.
Point 3 is very simple. Point 3 is about the interactions. Like we use like clearing a space to help the speaker to put aside things. Then he or she can focus back to body sensations or breath, or just the silence, calm space.
Mhm.
Yes, like we can do like a body scan there,
Mhm.
like from toe to head.
So it's not just saying goodbye to things, it's also welcoming in. And we do that, the welcoming in, either with the body scan or with the breath or with a mantra like calm, space, saying something that sort of ushers in the big spaciousness. Is that right?
Yes, or just with that that feeling or sensations, just who you really are there.
Yes, yes. Wow. It's an important point.
I like how you use that the last word you said there. You said who you really are there. So it's not abstract. It's who you really are there in that moment.
Right.
And the partner and the partnership and the partner reflection helps that happen.
Right, quite right.
Within a context of more and more ventral spaciousness. That the partnerships helps that happen
Yes.
somehow. This is powerful.
Really? I'm getting so much from this. I'm going to need to go in a few minutes. And Kate, would you mind just repeating for this recording what was point 1? Because we have point 2 and point 3 so beautifully here.
Okay. May I say more about the last?
Yes, please, please.
Let's see. Yes. I mean, in my own experience, when I reached there, the place, I experienced something like I am time and space in that place.
I am that kind of, I am time and
Time and
space.
space. Wow. I like that.
Okay, now I go back to the 3 point. And point 1 is and there's someone there, the partner is there to watch over, to help maintain the safety, a safety environment for the one to practice mindfulness. Point 2 is the mirror effect. If the listener, the mindfulness state is stable and powerful, it helps. And point 3 is we use the things we learned from focusing, like clearing space, or to acknowledge the whole, to help we reach that place, that mindfulness place. When we reach there, we can do like body scan, or just focus on our breathing, or be with all the things there, or to stay in that for me, it's quiet and calm, a calm place. I don't know if it's for somebody else to stay there to know or to think who you really are, who I am. Yes.
I'd love to share my screen for just a second to show you these pictures, because I had just seen these the other day. I think that's why I was thinking of this big person. He's like,
Oh, wow.
it's like,
Ooh.
it's at the Montreal Botanical Gardens. It's Mother Earth.
Oh my.
Wow.
Wow, wow.
Uh, Just before we end, I wonder if there's a couple minutes we could talk about next time, or whoever is available to. I have a few ideas of topics I want to discuss.
I wish I could. I can't. I'm sorry. But please let me know.
I can write them. To
Please,
us.
would you?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I must go.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Kate, and everybody.
I'm
This
just
was
wondering-
this was wonderful.
Okay, bye, Steve.
Thank you.